Howdy Bulldogs! Today we're going to talk about how we can use map reports to drive our instruction. So as we know, we spent the whole year last year assessing our students. We assessed them in the fall, we assessed them mid-year in January, and then again in the spring. So we have lots of data on these students from our measures of area progress. And so we want to see, okay, now that we have this data, what can we do with it? How can we use this to improve or drive our instruction? So today we're going to look at three specific reports. We're going to look at the class breakdown report, the learning continuum, and the student profile. And I want to show you how do you get those reports, and then what can you do with them, and how does that impact your instruction. So the first thing you're going to do is go to nwea.org, and we are going to go to Login, Map Growth. Okay, and you're going to put your login information in. And we're going to be looking over here under View Reports. Click on Map Growth Reports, and you're going to see all kinds of reports that we can run. So the first one we're going to look at is the class breakdown. This report is going to be really good if you want to see just at a glance how all of your students are doing. You can also see where the students are as far as, each RIT band. And so I could see how many students are in, the first RIT band and the second and third. And so this is going to help me whenever I want to group students for small group instruction. So I'm going to pick, we'll say like we're mid-year. So I'm going to pick one of my teachers. I'm going to choose my class. Okay, so then when I come down here, I have three options of what I can pull. I like to just go by the RIT score, and then I'll show you kind of how you can get to the goals. And then I'm going to do View Report Online. You can print the PDF, and you can also choose to print that from here. So I like to do this one because then I can see all the students, and I can show you how you can kind of navigate to other areas from this. So that's why I like to run it online. So as you can see, the students' math scores and reading scores. So what I'd like to do first is to look at math. Okay, so it's going to pull up all my students, and notice here that it has now switched it to their goal. Okay, and this is really nice because I can look at, these are different strands, so numerical representations and relationships. So I can see how these students do in just this specific goal or the specific area. It's going to go ahead and show me, like I can look at this student, Batarse. It's going to show me her overall score is 191. We can also look and see how she falls. So for the numerical representations goal, she's in this RIT band, okay? But then if I look over here at computations and algebraic relationships, she falls in the lowest RIT band for my class. So one thing to note is it still has her at 191. That's her overall score. And so it's important to go ahead and break it down by goal so you can see, hey, this is an area of weakness for this student. So I want to make sure and target this for her. So whenever I am doing that, I see that there's another student that I can group her with. So those two can be, working on the same type of task. So that can help with differentiation. So this is a really nice kind of at a glance. You can see where all of your students are. So you also see their strengths and the weaknesses that they have. I can switch back here to reading, and again it pulls it by goal. You can see all my students there as well. So that's kind of overall big picture of why I would pull the class breakdown. The next one that you can pull is the learning continuum. So go back to reports, and you would click on learning continuum. Okay, and because I chose summer, didn't pull anything. If I choose winter, it's going to populate with the same teacher that I had just pulled, and there I go. Okay, so this doesn't look like at first that I have much data here going on, but I'll show you how you can see where your students are. So if you look, there's some drop-down menus, and this was whole numbers and decimals. And so I'm looking at all of these different TEKS or standards that students would be able to master. I like to change this to go to display options and group by standard. Okay, and the reason is, and I don't want to select anything in here because I want it to show me all of the TEKS, and I'll show you what that means in a second. But see how now it's switched to my kindergarten TEK. So I see that this is kindergarten TEK, here's a first grade TEK, and so forth. So that's really nice because I can say, okay, very specifically, this is the TEK that this child is working on, and I can align my activities in that way. So it makes more sense with the way that our standards are written. So this is the first RIT band. Okay, I see 171 to 180, and there's no students within this RIT band. Okay, it has all of the TEKS that they should be working on. Now I'm going to go, here's another RIT band, so it starts over again here. And I'm going to look here on the right hand side, and I see there's 3 students in this RIT band. Okay, so those students, these students are in 2nd grade, and so what I know is that they have some gaps. They have some gaps in comparing sets of objects of up to at least 20 in each set using comparative language. Okay, so that's the TEK, and then compare sets of objects within 10 using terms. So this is something that they have gaps in, and we need to go ahead and hit, I could pull this again for station work or small group, for guided math, but these are the gaps that these students have from kindergarten, and then here they are from 2nd grade. Okay, notice that it kind of follows, so you have, we missed K to G, okay, and then we also missed, let's compare sets of objects within 10 terms, and then if I jump up here, you know, jump K, or 1 to G, compares whole numbers within 100 using symbols. So they kind of follow that those are the gaps they have. So now here I go, and I'm in 2nd grade. So depending on what time of the year it is that the students took the test, they may or may not have covered this part, but I know that this is in 2nd grade. These are the TEKS that the student is ready to be working on. Then, if I want to be extending learning, whenever I'm working on composing and decomposing numbers, this student is ready for a 3rd grade TEK. So here's some 3rd grade TEKs. Here's even some 4th grade TEKs that these students are ready for. So the reason why I did not check that I just wanted 2nd grade TEKs whenever I changed the setting at the top was because of this, so that I can see all the way up to 5th grade. These students can handle up to this 5th grade TEK of comparing and ordering 2 decimals to the thousandths. Okay, so that's really nice to see. You know, a lot of times, you know, parents, especially if their students are making high grades, they want to know how can they continue to grow, how can they help at home. Here's a great way that you can tell them, this is what we need to work on. Orders decimals to the hundredths with the same number of digits after the decimal point. So, excellent, excellent resource right here to help me, like I said, share with parents, to know if I'm trying to design a station for these students, or a small activity, a DIY, what do they specifically need to be working on? This tells me exactly what they need to be working on. So it even has the students along the side that would tell me who should I group these students with, and so forth. So I really like the learning continuum for that reason. The final thing that I wanted to show you is the student profile. Before we jump to that, I do want to show you one more thing. If I go back to class breakdown, I can actually navigate to the learning continuum from my breakdown here. I'll show you really quick. Do your report online. Okay. If I go to math. Okay. Now if I click on a student, it's going to take me right to their math continuum. And I can find where they are. Okay, so this just shows me that one particular student. If I click on View All, it's going to show me all of the students. So I can see all of the students that are in that same RIT range as that student. Okay, So that's why I personally like to keep the online version, but it is nice to go and have the printed PDF as well for your reference. So you can have both, which is great. So the last thing we're going to look at is the student profile. So come down here to student profile. The reason that I would choose this one, there's several things. Okay, so you can follow what I'm doing while I'm sharing why I choose this. I can go to one particular student, view their profile. Okay, so as you can see, this is a quick at a glance. I can see the student's overall score, so this is their overall score. We can look at their percentile rank. So this is for math, this is for reading. I can see the possible range of scores that they have, how long it took for the test, for the student to complete the test, the date, and so forth. So that's just a very quick at a glance. I can toggle back and forth between reading and math very easily. So that in and of itself is wonderful. But I also want to show you, we have instructional areas. Okay, so these are 3 instructional areas, and I can see that, you know, the highest score for the student was in informational concepts, so that's going to be the area of strengths. Their scores are very similar, and so there's no real area of weakness, and they might not have one on this one either. Nope. But sometimes it'll come down here and it'll say this is a student's area of weakness, and just pointing that out to you if there's a big discrepancy between their scores. So you can set growth goals with the students. Because this is the spring and testing is complete, then it doesn't let you set any goals, but you could actually go ahead and manually put those in. This is a really nice picture of how the student performed this year. So if you notice, the lowest scores are red, all the way up to the highest scores are blue. This is the score for the fall 16, winter 17, spring 17. Okay, so this student showed a nice pattern of growth throughout the year. You can also see that the dotted line right here shows the typical growth for students, typical performance, and then the kind of dots and dashes shows the district's performance. So this student is performing well above both of those. When students are doing that, we want to make sure that they're continuing to show growth. So it's great that they're above the average, but what's important for our students is we want them to grow every single year. And so I can see that this student has grown this year. If you are able to go in the fall, it'll show you the projected growth for the student. So it will say, you know, that this was the initial score, and then we project that if the student continues to grow in the same manner, that they will score, you know, at this amount. So then you would be able to see if they met their goal or not. So that's how you can help the student with this goal setting portion. So that's a lot of information that you can gain from our map reports. I hope this has been helpful. Just a quick at a glance information about how MAP can help you and how you can use that to set goals with your students, to provide small group instruction, to provide scaffolding, fill in those gaps, and also to extend learning for your students so your students do continue to show growth throughout the year. Thank you very much.